truth, and life. Here is the Brother Leon Show. You better recognize.
What's going on, listeners? This is your boy, Brother Leon, and you are tuning into another episode of the Brother Leon Show. Let's go on in here. Oh my God, I am so glad this morning that it is July, because now we can go into the next half of the year. But hey, the one thing that I want you to understand, man, these hot streets are summerfied. Yes, I said the word summerfied because, man, it's hot out here in these streets. People are hot in love because now we are able to maneuver with COVID. We got the vaccines. So, man, we need to bring some clarity to relationships. So today I am so happy to have back on the show Miss Alasha Bennett. And so the one thing that I love about Miss Bennett, man, she is a phenomenal gift. I'm not gonna lie, man. Yo, the stuff that she puts out, her content, oh my God, it will make you think. It will make you question your actions and your motives. And so that's what I love about her, because her posts and some of the things that she explains, the way she explains it, is just so thought-provoking. And that's the God knows truth, because we need that. We need to be able to see reality in relationships. Because a lot of times we go off of speculation, we go off assumption, we go off imagination. And if you have been tuning into social media recently, there's even entitlement. Yes, I said it, entitlement. People believe that they are entitled to get the same benefits that they had in the relationship after the relationship. So it's almost like you want alimony and spousal support, but you were never married. I'm serious. I'm watching this young lady say that she was dating this guy. He upgraded her lifestyle. And because he upgraded her lifestyle, she feels as though that until somebody else comes along that can offer her the same thing or better, that she shouldn't have to give up the condo. She shouldn't have to give up the vehicle and things of that nature. But the crazy thing about it is that you had that while you were dating the guy. You're not dating him no more. So he is not responsible. He is not obligated to continue that for you. And that's the God knows truth. So we have to get out of having the attitude that we are entitled because we give sex. Because if you flip the script, like I seen Kevin Samuels do, old girl said, hey, that would be ridiculous, because he flipped the script like, okay, you are the best sex that I've ever had. You curl my toes and everything like that. I love how you bring it. And because you did that to me, it has put me on a higher level sexually when it comes to my desires and wants. So until I can get that the same or even better, I still want to have access to have sex with you. And old girl was like, when he gave the scenario, and she was like, that's ridiculous. So the point is, if that is ridiculous, then why is it that your point and what you're stating about you needing to keep those physical things isn't ridiculous as well? Because it is, because you're not married. And you shouldn't have to have the same benefits and still expect for the guy to do this until you decide that you're going to move on. And that's where the whole twisted stuff comes into being. That's where that whole 3 flat tires, sugar in the tank, windows bust out, that's where that comes from. That's the kind of stuff that starts that. The next thing you know, you see him out on the street, and then you catching that attitude. Or you getting on social media, all these niggas ain't shit. Because you made up in your mind that you were entitled. And I'm going to tell you right now, man, I look at it like this. I love the fact that our women are investing in themselves, but even though you invest in yourself, it does not give you the right to have entitlements in certain situations, especially in dating. I ain't gonna lie, yo, I'm gonna start some problems today. Do you feel as though that you should give back engagement rings? Yes, I feel as though, yeah. Depending on what the price was, because I look at it like this. If you went out here and you bought your man a car and you're still making the payments on it and you guys broke up, would you expect the car back? Seriously, some of you would. You'd be like, nah, yeah, sorry, Roscoe, I need that back. I'm still making payments. Well, he's still making payments on the ring. And I give you the scenario because there are some rings that cost just as much as a car. And some of you are blinging a man's car. The car that he should be driving. The car that he should have gave to his son or daughter. Some of y'all are wearing that. Some of y'all are wearing a man's car. But at the end of the day, you know, you feel as though that even though, yeah, with the engagement was broken, I'm still entitled to this gift. And I say differ. Give it back. Because if we could call marriage a contract, that's the start of the contract. If it didn't happen, sorry. But at the end of the day, man, do what's right and have peace. I ain't gonna lie. If he got that daggone ring from Walmart, that shit, that's totally up to you. And I've seen it. I ain't gonna lie, Walmart got some good stuff. But how would you feel if he got it from Walmart? Would you give it back then? Would you give it back if it was zirconia? Would you give it back then? You definitely had to give that back if it was in the family. If it was a family heirloom, if it belonged to his grandmother, you need to give that back. So we got to get out of this whole thing about entitlements. And so I'm so glad that we have the Heart Whisperer so we can talk about certain things. We're going to talk about some of the things that I've discussed, but I'm also bringing Miss Bennett on because we're going to be having a clubhouse discussion about the term easy, because that term easy is a label, and a label is inaccuracy. It's a lie. And so the one thing that we are seeing today is that because of trauma in our own personal lives and trauma in our family, a lot of times people gravitate to relationships, and we use the relationships as a means of self-medication. And so you will have men and women, they will gravitate to relationships because they are looking to self-medicate, and they're looking for a brokenness, and they're looking to fill a hole because of the absence of a parent. And it could be a father. It could be a mother. And so, you know, we go to these relationships expecting healing to come from a person. And the one thing that I want you to realize is this, is that healing cannot come from a person. You got to be able to get to a place where you will find healing within yourself, where you will find healing within coaching, where you will find healing within mentoring, where you will find healing even in God, if you are a believer in God. Because I look at it like this, only internal can heal internal. And I come from a perspective that is biblical, but the one thing that I want you guys to understand and know is that I feel as though that if God can heal you, then you can be whole. But you have to choose to be whole. You have to believe that you can be whole. You can't believe that you're broken. You can't believe that you will stay that way. You have to believe that over the course of time, if you put the work in, that healing will come. And it comes by consistency. It comes by honesty. It comes by being honest and working the process, doing the work. But if we look for it in another person, if we look for it through other external means, it's not going to happen. It's going to be like a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And the crazy thing is, we have gotten in society that we bleed over people and then we expect them not to get angry. I'm like, nah, man, come on. I don't need you bleeding on me. I don't need you bleeding on me from what happened from the last guy or what happened to you when you were 12. And then you bleeding on me and then you expect me to heal you up. But the crazy thing about it is that you don't want to take no suggestions. You don't want to go to therapy. You don't want to have no coaching. But you want me to do it and you expect that our love and our sex and the things that I bring to a relationship table to do all that. It's not going to happen. That's unrealistic expectations that we put on people. So, hey, I'm going to stop right here, man, because I know I'm going in and I want to save some of this for Miss Bennett, but also save a lot of it for the discussion that we're going to have on Clubhouse. So, hey, meet me on Clubhouse July 2nd at 7:30, and we're going to have a panel of guests. I love the fact that Miss Bennett brought this out, so this is like her baby, but we just taking it to a bigger stage. So hey, follow her, get her book, Dear Future Spouse. She is on social media, Dating Mechanics, and we are going to call her in a few minutes. So hey, wait up for me right here. Hello?
Yes.
Hey, how you doing, Miss Bennett?
I'm doing very well, and yourself?
I'm good. Let me give you some applause. I just want to welcome you back on the platform because God knows we definitely need the heart whisperer for what is happening in these hot summer streets.
In these summer streets.
Oh, yeah, because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, dang, did COVID got everybody messed up in the head or something?
It's a lot going on these days.
Oh yeah.
A lot going on.
Oh yeah. Let me just start this. It's definitely a whole lot. So tell us, like for the guests that may not have listened to the previous episodes that we did, tell us who you are.
Well, I am Alasha Bennett, and I am the dating mechanic, and I am a relationship and dating coach. I help singles and premarital couples and established couples learn to date and love one another and be in relationships that are healthy and functional and grow.
Wow, that's great. So let me ask you this. How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing this since 2008.
Wow, that's a while. That's a while. So let me ask you this. What made you? What was the journey like going into that? What was like the thing like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what God has put in my hands to do to help people in this area. What made you go there?
Funny enough, everyone asked me this question, and it was actually divorce. Divorce put me in the mindset of I don't want any other person to go through what I went through in my marriage. And let me be clear, there wasn't any physical abuse in my marriage. But just the fact that when I got married, I did it because that's what society said was the next logical step in my life, right? I had a successful business. All of those other things in my life were going well for me. And so society says, oh, now you need a partner, right? And so the first person that came into my life that showed me some attention, that seemed like they could be a good mate, I said, this must be the God-sent person that I'm supposed to be with.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so that turned into all other types of issues because, you know, although I thought I was ready for marriage, right? There were some fundamental things that I just did not foresee.
Wow. Let me ask you this. If I can delve in a little bit, were you guys in counseling?
We didn't go to counseling till after we were married, which is why I always suggest premarital counseling for couples so that they can understand what they're getting into and how to put plans in place for things that happen, such as cheating and finances and blended families and those things. How are they going to handle those issues when they come?
Yeah.
But we did not go to counseling until, and he had to be dragged there.
Wow.
You know, after we had already separated one time. So I separated twice in my marriage before deciding that it just wasn't going to work out, because it takes two people, right?
Yeah.
And I just did not want to go on with a marriage where the other person was not 10 toes deep. So he just made that choice that he didn't want to really be a part of repairing the marriage and changing. And so that decision had to be made.
Wow. So, because the crazy thing is that I think, because I come from the church perspective, I think a lot of times people believe that, oh man, we just stick it out, we just gonna pray and believe God. I'm like, hold up, you need to have some counseling. Because it's one thing to pray, it's one thing to believe God, it's one thing to really learn how to stop doing the negative. Because sometimes you have to unlearn and then relearn again and then be consistent in the healing process. Right.
And there are practical things that need to be done that the Bible just doesn't tell you how to do step for step.
Yeah.
Right. So there's nothing wrong with having faith and, and praying and, whatever religion you practice. However, there are some practical steps that need to be done that are just not spelled out, when we're talking about, our beliefs and those things. And so we need other people to come alongside of us and kind of help and guide us, who've been there or who know what works, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because when you look at the Bible, it doesn't say anything about joint checking accounts.
Right. And how to handle giving money out to family and friends, or how do you put together a budget? Like, it doesn't give you those practical things that we actually need to have down in a relationship in order for that relationship to be successful.
Exactly. And a lot of times the Bible is vague because, people, and I love Christian counseling, but I feel as though that if you're going to be a Christian counselor, don't be so, okay, this is the cookie cutter way. This way works for everybody. And a lot of times it don't, because I look at it, the Bible says certain things about marriage. It says things about, male and female, like the whole submission thing. And I'm like, man, I could start some trouble with that.
We don't.
But I'm not going to do it today. But, it's just a whole lot of things that are vague. But when you start really getting down to the nitty gritty of certain things that happen in relationships, you need that coaching. You need, a mentor. You need, to be able to work the process to have the success, because it's the little stuff. Like, man, when it comes down to marriage, in my opinion, it's like, sex, kids, finances. These are like the big three that can end up breaking us up. Sex, communication, finances, and kids. And
absolutely.
And we definitely need help. So I am so thankful for you, because you come from a different perspective. I love your social media posts because they're very challenging and very thought-provoking. And thank
you. I appreciate that.
Oh, hey, no problem. And I love the fact that you will challenge a person on some of their responses. And I mean, and I was following you when you were talking about how you and Michael Baisden went back and forth. Tell us about that if you can.
Well, I mean, it wasn't really much of a back and forth. He had posted something, and I posed a question. Like you said, I challenge those, right, to think differently, and not because I may not agree with them, even with what they're saying, or my opinions don't go into them. I'm actually challenging those to think outside the box, because although they might think that way, their partner may not.
Yeah.
So how do they make that transition into, okay, I may not be feeling this way, my partner may be feeling this way, and how do we come together so that each person is happy, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big part of why I challenge people to think in a different way, because we're always in our small little box and our little atmosphere and what we learned growing up. And being able to see somebody else's perspective, sometimes it's like, especially in a relationship, things don't blow up or things don't become as important when you understand why that other person is saying or doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
When you can put a meaning behind something and you can understand where somebody's coming from, it's like, oh, I don't have to be upset about that. I don't have to be mad about that, because that I understand why they're doing that. Right?
Yeah.
And then be able to deal with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what those posts are about. But with Michael Basin, he just got upset that I was actually challenging him, and nothing in a negative or nasty way. That's not how I am on social media, but just questioning his reasoning behind why he was saying what he was saying. And so he blocked me,
Wow.
which is okay,
That's
which
crazy.
is fine, which is fine. I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll block people. I block so-called friends. Like, man, please block. I ain't got that kind of time.
Your block hand is strong. You block hand is strong.
Yeah, but
I try not to block people.
Yeah.
I try not to block people. Only people who are, who really just, they're there to misunderstand on purpose. You know how there's some people that they just always want to fight, and it's just not worth my energy or time.
Yeah.
And so if they're being like that and they're not letting up, some people you can ignore like that, and some people just keep going, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I totally get it. So I love the fact that you call your program Dating Mechanic. And the one thing that I love when you say mechanic, it's like, okay, you got the engine, you got the transmission, you got the brakes. You know what I mean? And I love all of that. So, it's almost like you show people, how to shift gears, how you can get things running, how you can upgrade certain things, how you can put the brakes on certain things. So let me ask you this, because just like current events, I don't know, have you watched, or, oh yeah, you did watch, you posted it, about the video of the young lady that felt that she was entitled to continue a lifestyle in a dating relationship, and even after the relationship ended, she felt as though that she was entitled to keep living that way.
Right. The young lady that believes that she was in a relationship for 4 years, and she felt like even after the breakup, now it's not a marriage, it's just a relationship. She's feeling as if he should still carry her apartment and her car and those types of things to still pay for her lifestyle, because he upgraded her to that lifestyle.
Wow.
But currently she can't afford to upkeep that lifestyle. Yeah. And so she feels like he should give her some time, 3-6 months, a year, in order to come up to that status and be able to pay for things on her own.
Oh my God. For real?
Yeah, and it's the entitlement of it all. I even asked the question today on my social media, do you give the ring back after a broken engagement? And, mostly everyone is saying yes, but you have a few people that feel like they should not have to give it back because it's a gift. When actuality, it's a contract. It's contingent on getting married. And if you're not getting married, if there's a broken engagement, the contract is now broken. Yeah. And so it is your obligation to give it back. And I will say this, Montana is the only state that doesn't see an engagement ring as conditional.
Wow.
They are the only ones that feel like it is an unconditional gift. Now you have 3 states. I think it's Texas, California, and Washington. If he breaks off the engagement, she can keep it. But if she breaks off the engagement, she cannot keep it. She has to give it back.
Wow.
So all the other states, if he wants to take you to court in order to get that back, you have to give it back. And if you sold it, you have to give the value of that ring.
So what's she taking to the pawn shop? I've seen that.
Right? And they will never get the value of that ring. So, so if you're lucky if he said you can keep it and he's not worried about it. But other than that, it really is your obligation to give it back. It was a contract, and the contract was not fulfilled.
Oh yeah, because I look at it like this. Depending on the because I talked about that in the beginning of this episode and everything, because I feel the same way. You should give it back, because what if it's an heirloom? What if that was like that man's grandmother's ring?
Right.
You know what I mean? So you want to say you ain't giving that back? I'm like, hey girl, we gonna have a problem if you don't give back my mom's ring.
Right.
Right. Or it could be $20,000. You got to give that back. I know you like to bling with it and everything, but you gonna have to give that back.
Uh-huh. And why would you want to keep it at that point?
Exactly.
What are you holding on to? And if that's the case, that you're holding on to, the thought of it or the promise of it or the whatever, that's something that you need to heal and resolve within self.
Yeah, exactly.
So giving it back is part of your healing.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I mean, I've heard of promise rings and stuff like that. I feel as though, if he give you a promise ring, then, maybe you could hold on to that.
But it's still a promise.
Yeah.
Right? It's a promise to marry. Yeah. And so if we do not marry, right, then that's taken away.
Okay. So the promise and the engagement ring goes back.
Okay. I mean, it all of it is a contract, and that's what people don't understand. Yeah. And it's this whole thing about marriage that people don't understand. Legally getting married is a contract. It is a financial contract. And until people actually get that into their heads, everybody wants it to be all about love and all of those different things. But you can be in love and you can love someone without the marriage contract. You can have a beautiful relationship and a successful and healthy relationship without a marriage contract.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about a marriage contract, you have to make some type of rules, and there's things put in place, right, inside of that contract that says how those transactions are going to go.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the part that people don't do. Right. And that will be part of your premarital counseling.
Yeah.
Right. Or coaching.
Yeah.
Is actually figuring out, okay, what's the rules of engagement?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny you would say that, because it's almost like what you're saying is there's a strategy to being married.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people go off of assumption, because it's one thing to have the wedding day. It's another thing to really work out and live in the marriage.
That is correct.
So talk to us about that whole thing about, the marriage being contractual and some of the expectations and then some of the unrealistic things that people fail to see at times. But also, fall off from, because they feel as though, I'm married now, I ain't got to do that.
Well, like I was saying before, marriage is a contract. It's a contract between you and that person in the state, right?
Yeah.
About what is to go on within that marriage. And like I said, people are really depending on, they love me and, and this and that, but they're not really taking the time to build the foundational things of the marriage. So when people ask me, when people say, we're going to get married and all, okay, so what's the purpose of your marriage? What are you trying to achieve? What are the goals and what are the things that you want to do together? Financially, where are you trying to go and what are you trying to achieve in that aspect? And a lot of people don't know. They're just doing it for love.
Yeah.
And that's where you get into a lot of trouble, because, finances is a big reason why couples break up, right?
Yeah.
And I tell people it's not the money, it's the conversation around the money that's actually causing the problem in the relationship.
Yeah.
So what is it that we're trying to achieve together? It's what are we trying to do in the marriage? What are we trying to do in the community with our marriage? And how are we trying to change the world with our marriage?
Yeah.
You have to have those three views, right?
Yeah, you do.
If not, you'll get stuck. What's the goal? What's the purpose? Right?
Mm.
So it was so funny that we're talking about this, because yesterday on a post, I don't remember what the post was about, but the comment was made that people fall in and out of love all the time.
Yeah.
And that 5 years from now, I'm going to be a different person, or 10 years, I'm going to be a different person. And so my response to that person was, well, we decide to love every day. So how do you fall out of love unless you choose to fall out of love? It's a choice that you make.
Yeah.
Because you choose to love every day.
Yeah.
So if you are deciding that, you're going to do things without your partner and you outgrow them, that was the choice that you made. So every year a couple should be every 6 months and every year, but then you also have monthly check-ins. So every year you set this overarching goal. What do we want to achieve financially? What do we want to achieve emotionally? All of those things. You put it down on paper and you say, what are these things that I want to achieve? What do we want to do together? How do we want to affect our community, our world? How do we want to affect our children? Those types of things, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have time frames. Okay, we're going to look at it in 6 months. We're going to look at it in 4 months. We're going to look at it, put together a plan, and month by month, this is what we should be looking forward to, right?
Yeah.
But if you ask couples if they're doing that, they're not.
No, it's just day by day. It's like, okay, yeah, we just made it through the day. There's no plan.
Correct.
And you know what? I'm glad that you're talking about that, because it's like, you're gearing up for preparation and everything. Preparation for the long haul, preparation for when seasons change, because I feel as though that a lot of people fall in love with the imagination of what things may be. And also I feel as though that a lot of people, they fall in love with certain seasons that a person may be in their life. You fell in love with me because I was at the height of my season. But then that season changed. And then your attitude towards me started changing, because it was like you fell in love with me with the season, but you really didn't fall in love with me. So,
it's a big deal. Yeah. To have a successful relationship is work.
Yeah.
And people don't want to put in the work that is required. And it's just like baking a cake. Like, do you start baking the cake before you have all the ingredients together? No, you gather all of your ingredients first, right? Then there's a recipe that you follow. Yeah. You can't put in certain ingredients before others, or it's not going to turn out right? Yeah. The temperature has to be right. It takes a certain amount of time to bake, right? So if we go by that cake model and we put that toward against relationships, it makes sense. You have to do things in steps and stages. And a lot of people want to go from, getting the ingredients at the store, and when they get home, they want the cake to already be baked. And that just doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just paid for the stuff in the grocery line, and I'm carrying the stuff to the car, but when I get home, my expectation is that this cake will already be baked.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't work like that.
No, it don't. It don't. And then you gotta let it cool off.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
And then when you get to the golden years, that's the icing on the cake, right?
Yeah, exactly. And some people
right?
want the icing from the door.
Correct.
So let me ask you this. Why are people so lazy at times when it comes to certain cases? I'm serious, because you saying work, but it's like, man, please, people are lazy. People expect, I want you to be my God. I want you to be my financier. I want you to be my counselor. I want you to be everything. But then in the same token, I ain't trying to have you control me.
People are unaware. They do not have the knowledge that they need in order to have a successful relationship. And so I'm not going to, and people are fearful, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that people are lazy. People are fearful of the unknown.
Okay.
And they're fearful of what they do know,
Okay.
right? That previous relationship went south.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to put myself out there because I don't want that rejection and I don't want that hurt and I don't want that, I don't want any of that. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to say to myself.
Okay. I totally get that.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say that, people are just out and out lazy.
Okay.
I think people are misinformed.
Okay.
There's a lot of information out there about relationships. And I usually don't like to make people wrong or say that stuff is wrong, but that's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? There's some things that are just wrong.
Yeah. I say trying to have a relationship like you see on a movie on Netflix is wrong. Like, come on, man, that's Netflix.
Right. But try to insert that into real life and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times we are being illogical when it comes to matters of the heart, or you want to be able to use your head and your heart at the same time.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, the heart wants what the heart wants, and it's just not true. You choose, right?
Yeah.
Saying that takes your responsibility and accountability out of the situation, and then you have something to blame if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Well, my heart chose that person. Well, no, you chose that person, right?
Yeah.
And so you not taking responsibility for that always puts you in the role of victim all the time.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to change anything or do anything different. It's always somebody else's fault.
Wow.
So yeah, be in a position where you're able to learn and grow. And a lot of people, they don't want to get into these relationships because of the fear, but it's being in the relationship that allows you to grow and be a better person and, become the person that you truly want to be. You can't do that without relationships, whether they're romantic relationships, friendships, family relationships, even, boss and employee relationships. All of those things help you to become the person that you truly want to be.
Yeah.
So you can't avoid relationships because of fear, right?
Yeah.
So that means that you are, you're a stumbling block to your own growth.
Exactly. Exactly. It's almost like what you're saying is you're stunning your own growth because of one bad experience or two bad experiences.
Or 10 bad experiences, or, what I mean? Yeah. It's just the fact that you have to learn from those experiences.
Yeah.
That's why I tell, my singles, when you get out of a relationship and it's fresh, start journaling. Start figuring out what went wrong in that relationship, what went right in that relationship, what can I do differently in my next relationship, right? So that you can change the behaviors and the patterns. Because a lot of relationships is just patterns, right?
Yeah.
It's patterns and habits.
Yeah.
And until you change those patterns and habits, you're going to have the same result.
Okay.
But if you do something different, then, you'll have a different result.
Yeah. Okay. I'm totally getting it. I'm totally seeing everything that you're saying right now. So hey, I got to give you some applause. That's the God knows truth. Let me ask you this. Because, a lot of times the buzzword right now is narcissistic. And I'm not going to lie, like maybe about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I really wasn't aware to it. You know what I mean? So now it's like, I was in a narcissistic relationship and this person is a narcissist. And it's like the buzzword for today to a certain degree. So,
yeah.
So can you kind of unpack that? Because the crazy thing is that what I've heard in, social media, these relationship streets, is that the term narcissistic only, is given to males. It's a label that's given to males at times. But, like I said, I'm like, nah, anybody can be narcissistic. Not just males, females too. But it's like nobody wants to have that conversation.
So what I do want to put out there, because being a narcissist, that people are placing those labels on people very easily. And I just want to say that that's actually a personality disorder.
Okay.
And it's actually only about, not even about 200,000 people have this actual disorder.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So most of the people that, are saying, oh, they're just a narcissist, they're really not, right? Because you have to have certain traits in this and that in order to diagnose someone, right, with a personality disorder.
Yeah.
So let's just put that out there.
Okay.
They might have certain tendencies, right? But that doesn't necessarily make them a full-blown narcissist.
Okay.
And it is something that can, it is said that it can't be cured. But, it can be managed, I guess. But narcissists are people that, have a high sense of self-importance. And everything is about them, and they try to change and turn everything on the other person so they're not blamed. And it's, they're trying to make everything not about them, but it's about them at the same time. So they really feel like, they're important, and all the attention has to be, put on them. They really just, there's no empathy for other people. They really lack empathy.
Okay.
And that is very troublesome in a relationship. That ruins a relationship every time when you don't have empathy for your partner.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to put out there that it is a medical diagnosis, and that not everyone is a narcissist, but people are putting that label out on people.
Oh yeah.
So you gotta be careful about that.
Oh yeah, especially these YouTube streets. Oh my God, I just typed the word narcissist in, and I got so many videos. I'm like, oh my God, is this something that's happening right now that we never knew about? It's crazy, because I love how you broke it down, talking about that it's a personality disorder.
Right.
And a lot of times people are not, that's not brought to their awareness. They're not present to that. But I'm glad that, you're able to break it down and just say, a lot of times people are getting, that label, but that's not really them. They have the traits of it, but that's not really them.
Correct. Like one of the traits of a narcissist is gaslighting, right?
Yeah.
Well, we all have, done that, right?
Yeah.
There are certain statements that, we say, and we may not even realize that it's gaslighting that person. But it is, but that doesn't make us a full-blown narcissist, right?
Yeah.
So it has to be the whole diagnosis, not just bits and pieces of it, in order for that person to be diagnosed with that.
Okay. I'm glad that you have said that. I want to go into another word, easy, because we've heard that term, and we're going to be doing a Clubhouse discussion on that on July 2nd. I'm so glad that you brought that out. And so, listeners, the whole thing about easy came because of Miss Alasha Bennett's post, because she was referring to, what makes a woman easy. Or can you give some of the characteristics? And so, can you unpack that for us?
So when you're talking about, so the discussion came about, and I don't want to give too much away because we're going to talk about it. But
yeah,
I was asking my partner, what makes a woman easy, and his definition of that, and he gave a different definition of what I thought an easy woman is. And so I wanted to ask other people about that. So, kind of his definition of easy is not sleeping, not, a woman sleeping on the first date, right?
Yeah.
His definition of easy was more on the lines of easily manipulated. I'll say that, right? He said some other things, but more on the lines of easily manipulated with her mind, right? In the mind.
Yeah.
And that was more important to him than her giving up her body.
Yeah.
Right. It had to do with her mental ability to speak with him and to be with him on a mental plane.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought that was actually interesting.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I wonder if there are any other men that feel that way. I didn't exclude the women, but we got into a whole other discussion, and a lot of times on social media we branch off into other things, and we don't keep the main point.
Yeah, we do.
Right?
It goes that way.
Don't keep the main point. But I'm very interested on this topic to see how people view easy, and what makes a woman easy, because we don't really get that reference to men, right?
No, men don't.
That's really referred to when you're talking about women. Oh, she's easy, right?
Yeah.
So now, what would be the counter of that when you're talking to men?
Yeah. Well,
He's easy. What would he be?
Yeah.
A simp or
that's what it is.
Like what's the equivalent of that when you're talking about? Because there's always an equivalent.
Oh yeah.
So what's the equivalent of an easy woman?
Yeah.
Would it be a loser man? Would it be what I'm saying? Like, you put these labels out there, right? There's always an equivalent. So what's the equivalent?
Yo, yeah, it's a whole lot. But I think the thing that really gets me, and I wanted to ask you this, because, if a woman is too responsive, then that label's given to her. If she's non-responsive, then they call her stuck up. So it's like,
right?
Can't win either way. If I'm too much of this, then I'm one thing. If I'm too much of this, then I'm another thing. And then it's like, I don't even want to be bothered, because I can't be either without having peace.
So be your authentic self. So you never want to be with someone who doesn't have boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to, right? Having boundaries around sex, having boundaries around my time, having boundaries around, you know what I mean? How you treat me and how you speak to me and those types of things. What will I accept?
Yeah.
What is okay to do without me feeling like I'm losing myself or I'm being taken advantage of or any of those things, right?
Yeah.
Because people will play on your kindness and they will play on your insecurity, right? In order to get the things that they want or need in a relationship.
Yeah.
So having those boundaries, how easily can I get this person to do the things that I want them to do? And it really should never be about that in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
It should always be about, getting your needs met, but, doing it in a way that is not manipulative.
Yeah. Exactly.
In that relationship.
Exactly. And I tell guys, I'm like, hey, I know, and I tell, women that don't allow the sex to get you so drunk that you get blind. Because some people, they will use sex to manipulate you, and you punch drunk in sex and in love. I'm like, it's all good. But don't let good sex take and blind you to some of the little stuff that will end up irritating you down the road. Like, if you know that person's a sloppy person, but they done tore your back out and you like, oh, that's all right. After a while, you're going to get tired. You're going to get tired. You're going to get tired of coming home to a messy house or having a messy car. Every time, they use your car, it's like, oh my God, I'm getting sick and tired of these daggone McDonald's wrappers and empty drink cups.
Yeah.
It's the little
stuff. Like I said, setting those boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Of what's acceptable and not acceptable. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because, you were talking about rejection. How come we can't just repackage rejection and look at it as a new opportunity? Because, the fear of rejection, people will rather, go to hell in gasoline drawers than to be rejected.
We can and we should. We should look at rejection in a different way, especially when it comes to dating. And it's so funny that in other things, we will accept rejection. But when it comes to matters of the heart, it's so difficult for us to get back on that horse. I was watching a movie the other day, and I can't remember what that movie was. Probably just flipping the channels or something. But there was a group of guys, and they decided that they were going to have a bet. They were in a club, and they were like, "Listen, the whole point of the exercise was to see how many times they can get rejected. That was the whole point."
Wow.
Right? So that they could get their immunity up, right? for rejection, right? They can get that hard shell up for rejection. And I think it's easier for men to do that because in our society, we push all the rejection on them, right?
Yeah.
And make it normal. However, women have a really hard time approaching men because of that factor.
Yeah.
Right. So we're okay with being rejected for jobs and other things like that. But when it comes to, love and a mate, we really don't like rejection.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And so women fail to make that first move. They fail to send over that drink. They fail to, approach that man across the room because of that fear of rejection and how that makes them look, right?
Yeah.
That makes me look desperate. It makes me look, like I'm not a woman, like I'm, if I don't allow that man to approach me, which by the way, ladies, is very untrue, right? Yeah. And I've told many men, and I've asked this question on social media many times, and men loved it. They absolutely love it when they don't have to figure out if you're interested.
Yeah.
So let's make sure that we're putting this into context because there's a difference between an overly aggressive woman and a woman who is making her presence known, right?
Yeah. Break that down.
Totally different.
Break that down, please. Because
totally different.
Yeah, because I've heard that. I've heard aggressive and then I've heard making presence known. So please unpack it. Because trust and believe, it's guys like myself who are like, okay, I want to know the difference between aggressive and she's just, letting herself know and say, hey, I'm here.
Right. So a woman who is trying to, let you know that she's around and she's, available for conversation and she's into you or she wants to get to know you or whatever the case may be, that looks different for, in different situations. You can, in a bar, you can send a man a drink, right?
Yeah.
I'm interested. You can, ask them to come sit with you. That, if you're in a room, a conference, a party or whatever, and you approach that person and you, tell them your name. Hi, my name is, and how you doing tonight? Right? That isn't overly aggressive, right? Striking up a conversation is not overly aggressive. But if you're coming to a man and you're telling him all the things that you want to do to him, and you're touching him aggressively and you're saying things to him that are overly provocative and, and there are women that do that. They come straight out the gate and men are really taken aback. Like, what's happening here, right? Yeah. Because it's not something that they are used to. They're used to being the ones that are doing the chasing or the pursuing. So you can, like I said, you can do things that, and even with being in someone's DMs first, ladies, you can do that. A simple hello, how are you? Suffice. Yeah. When you're going into somebody's messenger or DM, it's okay to, quote unquote, make that first move, right? It's how you're doing it.
Yeah.
How you're doing it. And trust me, men are ecstatic about this, right? Yeah. So you can put that out there and then let him take the lead. That's fine because men know what's up. Yeah. So if you send the drink per se, right? If you send the drink and he looks over at you and you invite him to come sit, oh, he got it from there.
Oh yeah.
He know what's up. He know the deal. He got it from there.
Exactly.
If you go up to him at a party and you start talking to him and y'all giggling and he hawing, he got it from there.
Exactly. Exactly. You send a drink, you might get 20 flats. Hey, hey.
He understands.
Exactly.
He sees the interest and he's going to counter, right?
Yeah. Wow.
So it's nothing about that that's wrong or bad or out of place that makes you easy or a whore or whatever it is that you ladies are thinking. These men are thinking they're not even remotely close to that.
Okay. I gotta go here. What about a woman that asks a man to marry her? So
this is this popular thing that's happening right now, right?
Yeah.
That women are proposing. So I'm a woman that has never liked a man getting on his knees, right? But I have a whole different outlook on marriage and all of that. But I never liked a man to get on his knees. I think that marriage is a team effort.
Yeah.
And so I would rather you stand beside me, right? Men put women on pedestals.
Yeah.
And when that woman doesn't live up to that or something goes wrong, right? He's put her so high on a pedestal that she can't come down, right? She can do no wrong. So I don't like that whole scenario or that whole perception of that. So a woman getting on her knees, to me, that's the same thing. Like, why are you putting yourself beneath? And like I said, I feel the same way about a man. Why are you putting yourself beneath in that situation?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But I also have the thought that women ask men to marry them all the time. They just don't get on their knees and do it.
Wow.
They just don't present with a ring.
How do you say that?
Women always say, if we not married by this time, I want to get married. Right?
Yes.
Women are very straightforward about what they want.
Oh, yeah.
Right? There's no question. Oh, man, she want me to marry her. Oh, man, I got to get the ring. Oh, man. You understand what I'm saying?
I totally
men
get
are not,
it now.
Men know if the woman that they are with wants to be married because she is going to make that known.
Yes. Oh, yes.
She's already put that out there.
Yeah.
So she may not have done the physical asking. And in some cases, women have. Yeah. You'll be having a discussion with your partner and you'll say, well, when are we going to get married?
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just get married? Or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
So that conversation is always going on. So it's something about him getting on his knees, and each woman needs to examine that about herself.
Okay. Because
why are you crying? Why are you going through what are all those emotions within you that's causing you to feel the way that you feel? What is the representation? What does that mean for you?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people,
what does that mean for you?
They don't have answers for it, because I remember when I proposed, I got down on one knee and everything. Mm-hmm. I got down on one knee and, came up crying, and she hugged me, and the kids hugged me and everything. And but now that you have broken it down, I was like, okay, I'm looking at the symbolism. I could see us, in a Christian wedding, getting down on one knee, getting down on our knees and praying to God to bless us and everything like that. But I totally get the whole thing about us standing side by side, because when you look at the wedding ceremony, we are a side by side. Neither one of us gets on our knees.
So a lot of times I think that movies and society and all of those things have conditioned us to respond in a certain way. Oh, if he proposes to you, you're supposed to cry, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to, make this big scene because this is how you react, right? And we're triggered by that. Yeah. See, our subconscious holds so many memories and, things that we've seen and things that we've heard. And so when we don't know how to respond in a situation, we pull from that.
Yeah.
right? Even if that's not really what we're feeling, we feel like that's the appropriate response for that.
Yeah, exactly. Because you brought it out when you talk about media. Because I look at Dwayne and Whitley, and how Whitley was going to marry another dude, and then here come Dwayne breaking up the wedding. What if he didn't break up the wedding? Or what if he would have got punched and knocked out at the wedding? You know what I mean? Nobody ever thinks about that. Nobody ever thinks, what if she said no? What if she didn't run away with him?
Right. What if she would have said no?
Yeah, nobody thinks about that. But, the crazy thing is that we, like you said, we gather a lot of things from social media, from romantic comedies. And, I totally get it. But I'm like, we got to start living. And we got to start living for ourselves instead of for an image. You know what I mean?
We have to start being very conscious. And I always tell people, very intentional about what we're doing and what we're saying, and the steps that we're taking in order to have the life that we say we want to have.
Yeah, exactly. I want to talk to you about energy, because a lot of times I hear a lot of people say, after a breakup, I don't have that type of energy to really put myself out there like that again. And I totally get it, because it takes a lot of out of you when you are being transparent, you're being vulnerable, and then it's a lot of energy that you put in that relationship, and then it ends, and then it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do it again. I don't know if I got that type of energy or time.
Yeah, and a lot of times, so that's going into that fear, right?
Yeah.
And some people really don't have that energy. It's like, listen, I'm just tired at this point, right? It's like, I keep doing this, or I keep being in these types of relationships and doing these actions, and they're just not getting me what I want. And at this point, I'm just tired, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by being intentional, right? First of all, when you have a breakup, understanding, if you're in that space, understanding what could have went better in that relationship and how you can change things for the next time. And then actually taking the steps to change those things, right?
Yeah.
But if you're not in a relationship, you're single, and you're wanting to be in a relationship, actually taking the time to discover, what is it that I want? Why do I want to be in a relationship, and why do I want to get married? When single people say, oh, I want to be in a relationship, I ask them why. And if they say, oh, I want someone to love, or I just want someone to love me, or I want someone to complete me, I say, okay, we have to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're misinformed about what a relationship truly is.
Yeah.
Right. So let's discover why you truly want to be in a relationship, and what do you want to get from a relationship, what you're willing to give in that relationship, and what are the requirements for the relationship that you want to be in, because everyone has requirements. Although we say that we want unconditional love, our love is definitely conditional.
Oh my God. Please say that again. Please say that again.
We always want to say that. Well, I just want to love someone unconditionally, or I want someone to love me unconditionally. But the truth is, we do have conditions on love, right?
Yeah.
How we love someone, if we love someone, when we're going to stop loving someone, and those types of things. We haven't bridged the gap between I can love you, but us not be in a relationship, or, us not be good for each other, or whatever the case may be, right? I can still love you and not be with you in that capacity.
Well, people try to say that can't be. I'm like, yeah, you can love a person and not be with them. You can love a person and break up with them.
Yeah. And you can love someone and love 5 other people too.
Well,
I don't understand why people don't understand that that's possible. Your heart is not some organ that's in your chest.
Okay.
You can love multiple people, but be in a relationship with one person.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'm glad you gave clarification to that, because it's a lot of people that will push back on you with that because they see it from one aspect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's no limit on how many people we can love.
Yeah.
Right? But who's the person that is more that I have more in common with? Who is the person that I can grow and build with? Right?
Yeah.
Who is the best person to be in a relationship with?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But I can love all of them.
Yeah.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
Now we're talking differently of who has access to you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a different conversation altogether, right?
Exactly.
But I can love as many people as I want to love.
Yeah.
Who puts the cap on that? Right?
Yeah.
So there's no cap on that.
Yeah. Definitely no cap on that. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for saying yes to the calling that's on your life. Thank you for being the heart whisperer. Tell us about your product line, because I know you have a product line, and can you tell us about some of your books and some of the courses and everything that you offer? Because trust, these COVID streets and COVID alone just really made us reevaluate our relationships, and a lot of people are having babies, getting married, and some of them even getting divorced.
Yeah, the pandemic has shook it up just a bit. I have to actually say that I'm very excited and very proud of singles for going out there during the pandemic. I feel like, and I've come across many singles who have actually put themselves out there because of COVID. It really puts you in a different state of mind when you're alone, right? And you have no one to depend on in those types of situations and times. And so when you start thinking about, man, I really want somebody in my life, and you start taking those steps in order to get that. So I'm really excited. I'm really proud of the singles who have taken the chance during this pandemic to be online more, right? To have these virtual dates in order to put themselves out there and to get to know someone. But yes, I have plenty of products. I have a whole intimacy line. It's called ICE, Intimacy, Connection, and Energy.
Okay.
And I have candles and lotions and and fragrances and sprays. And all of my products, you can put them on your skin. The candles are massage candles. You heat them up. You put them on your partner.
Wow.
So they can go to the website for that. I have a book called Dear Future Spouse. It was my first book. I'm a 3-time author, but that's my baby. Okay. My Dear Future Spouse, it's a journal. And as a matter of fact, August 3rd, I am doing another installation session of that journal. I've had people get married from going through this 30-day journal. So, so it's one for the book. If you really truly are really ready to be in a relationship, that is for you. I also have another book called 7 Key Questions to Ask on a First Date. That's going to be your opportunity to ask the questions that really a lot of singles just don't ask on a first date or a first meeting or a first phone call. That's really going to get you to that second date. Is that second date really worth it?
Yeah.
And understanding that so that you're not feeling like you're wasting your time. And they can go to AlashaBennett.com and they can see all of the products there, and they can coach with me and those types of things. The book, the Dear Future Spouse Kit, is actually in my shop area, and the group is on Facebook.
Wow, that's
so great. They can go to the group, and they have to purchase the book in order to be in the group. But there we do live sessions to help you along in the journey.
Wow, that's great. I gotta give you some applause. I'm serious. I see your book becoming a movie. I'm serious. So hey, start working on the screenplay. start working on it.
I will take that blessing.
Oh yeah. Because you know the thing is, I look at you, and I'm like, had it not been for you, I would have never came across Joy Atlantis. I would have never came across Lauren Hope. And so, I just want to give you, thanks, props, accolades, flowers, because the crazy thing is that you are a great woman who attract other great women. And that's the thing that we need, because I look at it like this. If you as a great woman can attract another great woman and encourage her in her greatness, encourage her, where she is to go on, and then they help other people, I look at it like that is what God has called us to do. You know, so I'm thankful that, you know, you advocate for men, you advocate for children, and that you're trying to help people not to experience brokenness. So I just want to give you your props.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Hey,
I appreciate these candid conversations, right? Like, I love to talk to people and I love to talk about relationships. So to sit here and just have just a plain old conversation, that really gives out great energy and a great thought process, right?
Yeah.
I love those types of conversations. So I appreciate you for bringing me on just to have that conversation this morning.
Oh, hey, no problem. You the heart whisperer. We gotta have this conversation. Because trust, you can show people how not to self-medicate. I'm serious. They'd be like, girl, I'm ready to go out here and get all tore the hell up. I'm kidding. You can keep a whole lot of people from the bottle. That's the God knows truth. Because I was doing an interview with a coach. With a fitness coach, and she was going through and she was like, it was either the bottle or I was going to go to the gym, and she went to the gym.
Oh, very good.
So I was like, I was like, Lord, thank you, because I look at her now, she was telling about her story, and I was like, I bet you if he looked at you right now, he'd probably kick his own ass. Serious. That's what I said.
You missed the boat, right?
Oh yeah.
But it's so funny how life works, because without that situation happening, that coach wouldn't have, got up and did the things needed, for self.
Yeah.
So everything happens for a reason, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think the thing is that sometimes we have to get past the initial shock and look at it like, okay, it is what it is. Because I ain't gonna lie, it's some things that shock us, that sting us, and it's like, and then we, go throughout our journey, and then we transform into something else, and then we look back and it's like, wow, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here.
Sometimes we take those things for granted, right?
Yeah.
Like when we're in it, it hurts, and it, we feel like we're never going to get out of it.
Exactly.
But then coming out of it and looking back on it, we see, oh, that was necessary.
Yeah.
I needed that, right?
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you. So you have any, I know we're doing a thing on July 2nd, but do you have anything that's coming up? Like in the future? I mean, you have anything for dating mechanics that you want to talk about right fast?
Well, anybody who is in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, I have a slew of singles events that are coming up, and some couples events that are coming up for the summer, right? Because we out here. So, as they say, right? Summertime.
Yeah.
But that Dear Future Spouse group, if you really are wanting to find your mate, if you really are ready, you are ready, right? To start to transform your life and who you are, to get ready for the spouse that you want to have in your life. That group really is for you. Like I said, I had a young lady in there. She started the book in, I want to say, July, and October she was ready to get married. Like something along those lines. I know it was within that year. And she's a wonderful person, and her spouse, it's just amazing to me. Right. And so we have some stories like that.
Yeah.
Of people actually finding their partner and living happily ever after, as they say, right?
Yeah.
As they say.
Yeah. Well, hey, I look at it like this. God will give you the ability to have happily ever after, because if you put in the work and you get what you want, that's you happy right there. You happy right there. So hey, I look at it like this: you put in the work, you do the consistent work, and you trust the process. It's going to happen for you.
Yeah, but that part about putting in the work. Yeah. That's the part that's the part, the wishful thinking, the manifestation of something is not just wishful thinking, right?
Yeah.
When you manifest something, you actually have to put in the work in order for that to come true for life.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that we miss about that whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Putting in the actual work.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love it because you give the knowledge and it's up to the people to do the work. So I appreciate the knowledge that you give. And that's the God knows truth.
Well, thank you. I look forward to our conversation on Clubhouse. I think it's going to be a good one.
Oh yeah, it's going to be good. I told the guys, I was like, hey, watch out. It's going to be, you may get some pushback from the audience, you trigger words and stuff like that, but it's going to be all good because I feel as though that we need to have this conversation so we can get past the labels and we can get healing, to the people.
Oh yeah, well, let's do it then.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, I just want to say thank you, and I so appreciate you.
Absolutely, anytime.
Okay, no problem. I'm gonna give you some applause. Let me give you some thunder too, because you brought it today.
I get the thunder too. I'm not mad about that.
Oh yeah, you got the thunder today. But hey, look, you have yourself a blessed day. I'm gonna call you in a few minutes so we can test out the Clubhouse. But hey, I want you to be blessed, and I just want to say thank you.
Absolutely.
All right then, I'll talk to you. All right, bye. All right, guys, that was Alasha Bennett. So yeah, man, we get ready to go over here. We're going to test this Clubhouse out right fast. But I want you guys to come on July 2nd at 7:30 p.m. We're going to have Miss Alasha Bennett. We're going to have Eden Adele. We're going to have my man RL and myself. And we're going to have Miss Baquita Pegram. So hey, it's going to be dope. I'm going to try to see if I can get one more guest. I'm going to try to see if I can get Believe Spivey on here. I'm serious. Because I guarantee you, man, this conversation is going to be hot. The topic is hot, and it's definitely going to be all that. So, guys, I'm telling you, we going to bring it. And that's the God knows truth.
Walk in the truth that makes you free every day. Follow Brother Leon on all social media outlets.